Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm ready to do the Friday dance. This is the day. I know this is the day that the Lord has made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it, but it's Friday. Let's have a happy dance. Well, I am Portia Wheatley. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization, acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated. And we have the great opportunity, the privilege, and most of all, the God assignment to render hope, encouragement, and inspiration to you, our audience, across the whole wide world. And we are grateful to God that He's allowed us to be His instruments. So we do what we have to do. So let me bring in my co-host.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon again. My name is Takira Swan, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Now, before we bring on our beautiful and radiant guest, I just want to remind our viewers to please go to our YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, so you can help us bring hope, encouragement, and inspiration to the entire world.
To the entire world. That's what I'm talking about, to the entire world. Well, I am so happy to have the opportunity and the privilege to present to the world. And it's not that a lot of people did not know it, but it's going to be more people now. I am happy to bring on Sharonda Anderson, young lady who's going to speak on the topic of from surviving to thriving. Bam, but you are the answer. Doesn't that sound interesting? It's amazing how we stay in the survival mode, but we never move to the thriving mode. And then the fact to know that you are the answer. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to hear this. I'm ready to hear this. Because even in your success, in individuals' success, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes before everyone sees your success, period. But even the fact that you're, let's see, what you're a book author. You're gonna be producing a book, putting out a book, talking about a book. It's a lot that goes on to even get to that stage. And we were just talking earlier to have the opportunity to make, let's see, your ceiling, your floor. So that's progress. That's success. That's courage. That's boldness. All of that goes together. That's sacrifices. But we're so glad that you, Sharonda Anderson, have done what you needed to do to get to this point. So we are going to step back, and we are definitely going to let you have the platform so that you can share your heart, bring the hope, bring the encouragement, and definitely bring the inspiration to our audience. All right? God bless you. Let's do this.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as Portia Wheatley said, my name is Sharonda Anderson. I'm an upcoming author. The name of my book is You Were Made to Thrive: How a Story of a Once Lost Soul Gives Us Courage for Today and Hope for Tomorrow. The book has not launched yet. It will be launching in this upcoming January. So please feel free to connect with me on social media. Again, my name is Sharonda Anderson. My Instagram page is Sharonda_Anderson. So please feel free to connect with me just to stay in the loop as far as when the book will be launching. But as far as the topic is concerned, from surviving to thriving, that's so huge. And a lot of times when we're going through challenges in life, our focus point at that time is to get through whatever we're dealing with. We're so focused on, oh my gosh, God, can you just get me through this one thing, however traumatic it is. We're just focused on survival. We have that survival mindset. But it's like, okay, once God gets us through that challenge, then what? That's a big question mark. Do we go back to doing business as usual, or do we allow God to use that experience? And so when you get from the survival mindset to thriving, it's a couple of things to take into consideration. Number one, in order for God to use us, there has to be some type of inner work that we must do, especially considering going through challenges. Sometimes they have an impact on us, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, whatever the case. So once you're getting through that thriving stage, it takes doing the inner work, being vulnerable to God, allowing him, to mold, to shape you, to heal you, whatever you need, whether it's therapy, whether it's spiritual counseling, whatever that may consist of, as far as what your situation calls for. Also, when you're getting towards that thriving stage, and you already sought the healing or whatever you need, it's like, okay, what do we do next? The focus point is on how can God use me? Now that I'm in the best state that I've ever been, how can he use me? So to get to thriving, and what I've done was I looked at some of the things that I was good at, my skills, abilities, some passions, ideas that God placed in my heart. And one of those things was always writing. I've been doing it for years professionally, but more so as my career is concerned. But I also provided writing services such as doing business plans for other people, responded to congressional inquiries, creating training guidebooks, papers, you name it. So I'm like, okay, I really started to ask God for clarity, because I'm like, well, how can I use this for your glory? I'm getting paid to do this for other people, but it's not impacting people at a larger scale. And I always felt like, okay, I've been blessed with this amazing career, but this can't be it. It has to be more to life. It has to be other ways that God intends to use me. So I just wasn't feeling like I was like really fulfilling my purpose. So in getting to that thriving stage, I began to really think about some of the things that I've been through in my past, which my book is about, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But everything really came full circle, because it's like God told me, you have these writing abilities, but I want you to use what you've been through and write about it. And I'm like, okay. And I said that. I didn't agree with God initially, because I'm a very private person. And I'm like, well, I don't want people to know my business. And then once I started writing, I'm like, okay, well, how much of my business should I give? I'm like, God, can we negotiate that? And so he was really dealing with me actually for years, because I kept questioning, why did I go through what I went through? What was the purpose? And when you're going through things at the moment, you don't look ahead like that. Like we said at first, you just think about making it through. God, please get me through the next day, Jesus. And so, so I started to really pull on, my past, my skills, my abilities, and God told me to write. So I started writing. It was a process, because I didn't have like any mentorship, coach, any guidance. So I initially started just jotting ideas about things, that I've gone through in my past. And over the course of the time, those ideas started to come together. I started to organize my writing, make sure that the readability was good, the flow of it was good, making sure that it makes sense. And so that thriving part is when you get to the point where you're actually doing, you did the self-work, you did the inner work, you ask God for clarity as far as, okay, how does my past connect with my now? And how can I implement my passions, my skills, my abilities into all of that? And so that's where the thriving comes in. And then the part about being the answer. So this is how I look at it. God had placed all of us on this earth to solve a problem. We are the answer to some type of problem, some type of issue or issues that's going on in the world. And it's like, how can God use what's inside of us to resolve that problem? So when you think about the survival, that was God prepping us. We went through whatever we went through. Then we got to the thriving stage where it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I need to heal from these experiences. I need to start tapping into the passions that God placed in my heart. And then as far as being the answer, I need to utilize that. I need to put into action, put it into work. And I think that's so important because God didn't create us by happenstance. Each and every one of us, we are the answer to something, to someone, for something, for someone. And so that's where the part about we are the answer. Even if people feel like, oh, I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't necessarily know how my life fits in with, in this world. I don't necessarily know my part. Pray, ask God for clarity because he will give it to you. Keep your ears, your eyes, your spirit open because he will find a way to communicate that to you to give you direction. So so that's how it all ties in.
I just muted myself. Sorry about that. But
No
I
worries.
tell you, that is beautiful. We are
Thank
placed
you.
on this earth. The purpose of our lives is not just for us.
No.
It's for others.
Yes.
And they're going to learn a lot from Sharonda Anderson. And then we may not like what we go through, what we experience, what we have to learn. But when we get through it, when God takes us through it, we are so much more strengthened and empowered because of what we did go through. Had we not gone through it, we could not have been the answer for anyone.
Exactly.
And some things are really ugly that we go through. But somewhere along the line, somewhere in our lives, we're going to meet someone who feel like, I just can't get through this. But the experience that you've had, the experience that you've gone through, the survival that you've come through, that exact thing is going to help bring about manifestation and deliverance to that individual. There are times when even someone who has a title attached to their name, wherein someone who does not, and that person who does not have a title have gone through some rough times in their lives, but because someone else may have just the head knowledge, it's only so much you can say. It's only so much that you can share with someone. But you, Sharonda, when you have gone through what you've experienced, you have a message in your mouth for the world. There are people that are waiting. They're waiting for what you have to share. And they're really waiting for that book. So be encouraged, young lady as well. And you know how this world is, and to be able to stay and remain focused on God's assignment for your life, that takes some discipline. It takes discipline. If we can learn how to discipline ourselves, not wait on someone else to say, well, you should do this and you should do that. When we can discipline ourselves according to the relationship that we have with God, he's going to bring us through, and we will continue to thrive. We will continue to thrive. I love it because I'm thinking about some issues that I've experienced, and it's only been God that's taken us through. So, and what we go through, again, is not just for us, but it's for others. It is for others. When we think about it, it's like, Lord, I'm so glad you allowed me to go through that.
Yes. It may not feel like it at the time, but once we get through it and look back on it, it's like, it all makes sense.
Well, I'm very excited for all the things that are happening in your life and for your new endeavor. I'm excited for your book that's coming out in January. So before I start my little spiel, I just want to remind our viewers to please go and support when that book comes out. It will really, really bless you. So one thing that we have been talking about consistently through this whole year on this project, of course, like healing, bettering yourself, and how it's really not about you, and to kind of look at the bigger picture. So I just want to encourage those who have been doing the work and like, you know what, I'm healing, I'm going through, I'm growing. Well, now what? Well, now it's time for you to thrive. Just like you said, it's time for you to use those experiences to help others. There's so many people who are in the place that you were in a while ago, yesterday, it doesn't matter. And that's another thing. You don't have to just wait till you feel like everything's all perfect and you're completely whole in your life. No, when you learn any kind of lesson, I'm telling you, any lesson from right now to 5 minutes later, that can help somebody. You don't have to wait all this long
Yes.
time to help people. Just be who you're supposed to be and thrive and use what you've been through, because you haven't gone through it for nothing. I'm telling you,
Yes.
it's for a purpose, and you have a purpose. So I just want to say once again, I'm so excited for you and for you being on our show today. Thank you so, so much for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And if I could touch on just a couple more things. So I know we've been talking about this book, and I know you guys are probably wondering, well, what in the world is this book about? So the book, I've been through some experiences as a child, as a minor, most specifically the church that I grew up in. My mother, she had a relationship with a married pastor, and I was forced to be involved in their intimate affair. So I was molested, I was raped, I went through all of that. And I talk about in my book, I actually pull the reader into those experiences. It's extremely detailed, so beware. But I try to give as much detail as possible to take the reader through how I felt at that moment and what I went through. But most specifically, I talk about how those experiences shaped some of my experiences and decisions as a young adult, because I didn't get the healing that I needed. And I was on this path where I'm like, okay, I grew up in a church. I knew God existed, but I really didn't have an in-depth relationship with him. And I thought that my way to cope was the best way, and it was not. So I got to a point in my life where I had failed relationship after failed relationship. And then I got to the point where I'm like, you know, when you're going through a pattern, you have to sit back and reflect. And I'm like, okay, I'm the common denominator here. So something is up with me. And I really started thinking about my past. I mean, I never forgot it. I kind of shoved it in the back of my mind because it was so traumatic. But of course, it was always there. We can't erase, you know, all of our life. We can't erase our life experiences. It's a part of our journey. And so I really started to think about, okay, how does my past connect with what's going on with my life so far? And I really realized that I was robbing myself of the opportunity to heal because I was running from my past. And if anything, that was hurting me more than it was helping me. So I'm like, okay, I think I was about in my mid, almost to late 20s. And mind you, I have two older sisters, I have cousins. I never told anyone, friends, no one. You know, I was forced that this is a secret. You don't talk about it. And as such, I kept it a secret. So in my mid to late 20s, I told my dad about it. He didn't take it so well, but he actually forced me to go to the authorities. So the case went to trial with the Baltimore City State's Attorney Office. That took its course. And during this time frame, I sought spiritual counseling. So this is when I was actually able to get my healing. This is when I was able to look at life from a different perspective, really grow my relationship with God, and really realize that it's more to God than what I've been exposing myself to, which was really nothing. And so from there, I was able to forgive my mother, forgive my pastor. And I talk about how that relationship with her was mended. This book is so detailed. A lot of people call it, I guess, like a tell-all book. I guess you can call it that. But what's most important about this book is I provide steps that I've gone through as far as how to seek my healing. Not just going through spiritual counseling, but you know, having an accountability support system. You know, people who are going to hold you accountable to your healing, not just say, okay, I'm going to spiritual counseling. Okay, well, what do you expect to get out of it? Are you going? You know, people who are going to really hold you accountable to that process, being vulnerable to God, which is so hard when you haven't had that real relationship. You have to open up and trust. So the book is so good. I talk about all of that in the book. You guys have to read it. I don't want to tell you all the details, but it's there. It will bless your spirit, your soul. I promise you. It will give you a different perspective on the things that you've gone through. It will give you a different perspective on who God can possibly be in your life. Because just like he took me out of some of the ways that I was living that I talk about in the book, he can do for you and then some. So you guys have to look out for that book. It will bless you. I promise you.
I really believe it will bless people. It will bless me. Just your testimony has been a blessing to me. I'm holding back um just tears running, not feeling sorry for you. And I know you don't want people to feel sorry for you, but I think about how people have to be transparent when they come to this platform, Project 365, to be transparent enough to share what has happened in your life, how low you got, where you come from, because there are thousands and thousands of people waiting for them to tell their story, to say, you don't have to stay where you are. It may have happened to you, but when you allow God to heal your heart and heal your emotions and take you out of a negative or dark place, it is amazing how God can use you. And people need to know that. That is what I'm talking about. People need to know, and people need to have individuals, I don't care, from the pulpit to the door, to have people to come and share the fact that I was in this, I was in that, this happened to me. I was at my lowest point, but God brought me up and out of. God delivered me when they are ready. Now we're talking about people who have come from survival and striving to thriving. And if we're still in it, I may not be speaking to you directly, because we have to speak out of a healed a place. Because if we are in the place of bleeding, we're just going to bleed on other people. But when we are bleeding and we the ocean down my day, when we're at a place where we can be used by God, that brings him glory.
It does.
That brings him glory, and it allows the enemy to know God's power or oil or anointing rests on this individual, and he can't do anything. He has to back up with the name of Jesus, the power of his blood and his word. The enemy has to back up. So I encourage those that are in our audience, if you have a message, you've been through an experience that have really taken you to a low place, but you're delivered now. You're honoring God. You're giving God glory. You're blessing his name. People need to hear the message that's in your mouth. I encourage you, the world. I encourage you, no matter what state you're in, Florida, California, New York, in Africa, wherever you are, I encourage you to get this book. We will have some information on how, you said at the beginning of the year, maybe?
Yes, it'll definitely be sometime in January. I'm not sure of the exact date yet, but I'll definitely keep you all posted.
Yeah, do that, because again, this is what Project 365 is all about, because the enemy wants to take people out because of their past experiences. But when we give it to God and allow him to turn it around, and he will do that. He will turn your life completely around. So to God be the glory for the great things that he's doing through you and for you, making you're vulnerable to God. But look what that vulnerability has done. It's brought you to a place where you can just share the message of deliverance to the world. And we're grateful to God we're just grateful to God to be his instruments.
Amen.
And to God be all the glory. Well, this is another day that God has stepped in. He's done what he wanted to do. And we are so grateful. We're just grateful to God to have the opportunity to assist you in sharing this message. He has, this is just one platform. But for what you've experienced, I pray that God opens many, many doors for you, that you can share your message, share your story, and allow God to be glorified in the midst of it all. Well, audience, we thank you so very much for joining us on today. I got to go and worship. I have to go and work. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm trying to hold it back here myself.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, God is about a great work and he's using us, whoever will make themselves available. I'm not just talking about you, Sharonda, not just talking about you, Takira, nor Portia, but whoever makes themselves available to be used by God, God
That's
will
what it's
use you.
about.
That's
Yes.
what
And
it's
I
about.
just want to say one thing too. For people who've been through traumatic experiences, please don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. You're not the only one who gone through. I've been suicidal. I talk about that in my book as well because I felt like I didn't have a way out. But there is a God. There is a way out. God is real. God exists. And I just want you guys to be encouraged. You know, pull on your support system. You know, tell family, friends. You know, I come across so many people who had similar experiences and they're like, oh, I've been through that, but I never talked about it. Well, why not? Why? You know, by keeping it a secret, you're protecting your offender. You know, you're protecting what happened to you. And it's our responsibility to share with others because they, you know, will be blessed from our story. They may be in a place of suicide, but may hear that you survived and you got through it. So that gives me hope that I can get through it too. Please, please don't ever feel like what you've gone through is so deep, dark, and lonely that God cannot save you because he can and he will. So I just hope and pray that whoever's watching will be encouraged, will be inspired, will tell somebody, free yourself. That's what God, he wants us to be free. That's the only way we can help other people is to be free, to heal, to transform our lives so that we can help transform the lives of others. We have a duty, we have a responsibility. God placed us here to be the answer. So I challenge you guys on today to be the answer. Do the work, heal yourself, be vulnerable to God, let him use you, and thrive. You will thrive in the end. I promise, 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 promise you. I guarantee it's with God, there are guarantees. There's no what if and buts about it. So I just encourage you guys to talk to somebody about, you know, traumatic experiences you've been through. There is a blessing on the other side. There is hope on the other side. There's healing on the other side. There's peace and joy and laughter and love. It's a whole new world on the other side. And my hope and prayer is that God will give you the strength, the courage, the initiative to get over to that other side. It's not as hard as you think. It's really, really not.
You're absolutely right. And with this being December, at the close of another year, let's get into that place of freedom, getting to that place of actually emptying out and
Yes.
walking into 2022 as a year of victory, victory in your spirit, soul, and your body, even your mental status. Let's be mentally healthy. All right, that's
Amen.
it for me today. Takira, you got it? You have anything else? You good?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I am good as well. Thank you again, Sharonda. I so appreciate your life and being an addition to the body of Christ. Be blessed. And to our audience, we say thank you again for joining us. Don't forget, you have to share this broadcast. You have to share it. Even if you don't share it particularly to one person, share it on your media platforms. Share it, okay? There's many messages in this. Oh man,
Yeah.
God, we give you praise and we give you glory and we bless your
Yes.
holy name because there is none like you. We thank you,
Yes,
God, for
God.
this another opportunity to be used by you. And tomorrow we'll be used by him again. God bless you, and we will see
Yes.
you on tomorrow.
Bye. Thank